I'm now looking at it. It's called Major Melon. It has this whole Vietnam thing to it. There's like a watermelon on here.
Palm trees, like a couple helicopters flying over.
Just like, he looks like, yeah, I killed that whole village. What you gonna fucking do about it? Like,
oh, it does have like a whole Vietnam theme. That oddly would sell
this melon in my this melon in my cap right now. That's not part of me. That's a part of the enemy.
No, that's perfect. I'll have to try that now. Now knowing that there's, the Vietnam flavor Mountain Dew.
Can I get the Nam flavor? Do they even have watermelons in Vietnam? I don't know, maybe. Fuck.
It almost needs to be like
assume they might,
napalm melon.
Napalm.
Oh, but you know what? Mountain Dew is literally the perfect drink for a Sonic the Hedgehog podcast.
Oh, we're leading in with that?
Maybe we are leading in with that.
It's fitting. It's fitting. It's very 90s. I honestly think this would have been very, like, that flavor sounds like something that would have happened in the 90s, possibly.
You know what's always kind of weird? Because I always think of Mountain Dew being 90s, but there's one other thing I always think about. In one of the Roger Moore movies, there's a ginormous Mountain Dew ad in, like, the back of, like, one of the action scenes. So, like, I just like the idea that, like, oh, Mountain Dew, it's extreme sports with Roger Moore, because I really almost want to say it's The Spy Who Loved Me, so you'd have that big ski scene in the beginning. I'm surprised he doesn't just crack open a Mountain Dew, chug it, throw it at one of the bad guys, the guy crashes, rolls down the hill, blows up somehow.
Well, there's also that whole part in, it's not Mountain Dew, but it's, like, the less healthier Gatorade in, like, the Matrix Revolutions. I mean, you might see like a Powerade or something somewhere in the background in Reloaded, but in Matrix Revolutions, that part where they're chasing like the hobo guy, the train man or whatever, through the train station, and there's a moment where I want to say it holds like on a Powerade ad. They all three just run right past it for a second, and I want to say the dude does like a slow-mo jump with that thing behind him for a minute.
Oh, yeah, that's right. So it really focuses on it, and you're like, shit, I want a Powerade.
And then they even had that, and there's the Enter the Matrix game. If you went to a Powerade machine, it would refill your focus.
Oh, yeah. I kind of miss those days of that. For some reason, like, I'll complain about if they put an ad on Street Fighter V. I'm like, don't you dare give me fucking ad. Well, you get fight money. I don't care. I don't want to see an ad. I paid for the game. But for some reason, something like that Matrix one almost sounds like innocent and sweet. In a dumb way.
Like we didn't know better.
Yeah.
You mean it doesn't refill your focus? It means you can't dodge bullets? Fuck.
Yeah, exactly. But, hello, welcome to the Old Man Orange Podcast. I'm Spencer Scott Holmes.
And I'm Ryan Dunnigan.
And we're going with the IDW Volume 1 Sonic the Hedgehog comic. Kind of like the new start of a new Sonic generation in comic books and so on. And this kind of works out well because I've been kind of in a Sonic mood lately. I went through Sonic Adventure 1 and Sonic Adventure 2 and just kind of playing those games again. Like, that really takes me back. Because I think when I think of Sonic Adventure, the Dreamcast was that first system that I ever got that I actually had it, like, pretty much right when it kind of came out. I think I got, like, 6 months after. Because I was always used to having the systems, like, way towards the end. Like, probably right about the time that, like, the next consoles were going to roll on out, I was getting it. It's like, okay, I'm getting the Genesis. Oh, well, but, Sega Saturn will be out next week.
I got the Dreamcast when it was, like, near the end of its run. Like, I got it, like, a little before Sonic Adventure 2 came out.
Mm-hmm.
And it was, like, $100, and just... I always kind of wanted the Dreamcast. I was curious about it. Now there's $100, and I just saved up a bunch of money. And the thing where you save up some money, or you just kind of have like a payment plan to your parents. Like, okay, I'll pick up the dog shit and mow the. Yeah, you basically pick up the dog shit, you mow the lawn, do the dishes, take out the trash, do all that,
wash the car. Yeah,
like $6-7 a week, and then eventually you work your way up to like, okay. It took me 8 months, but the Dreamcast and the 2 games I got with it are all paid off now. I remember I got Sonic Adventure, Street Fighter Alpha 3, Street Fighter Third Strike, Jet Grind Radio. Went to a lot of like Funko Land a lot, looking for the cheaper ones.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, like Sonic. Even though I would play these other newer games, the 2 games I probably played the most on there was Sonic Adventure 1 and Sonic Adventure 2. And I'm not gonna lie, I think since Sonic Adventure 2, even though that game did have problems, there's other games that are fun, of course, after that. But I feel like 3D wise, they've been they've been kind of trying to balance themselves and trying to juggle. Like Sonic Adventure 2 seemed like the last big one. Mm-hmm. 06 wanted to be big, but not in the way it panned out. And then I don't know. I just think back on Adventure 1, Adventure 2, and this comic, even though it has newer stuff in it, it definitely, takes you back to that period.
Yeah, no, it definitely does, because, it's just one of those ones, like, those games, like, even just the small things, because even going back to Sonic Adventure 2, like, what I always remember on that one's, like, those fucking Knuckles and Rouge levels. That's always what, like, that's, like, haunts me on that. And then, I kind of played through them, and I will still say, Knuckles has way too many levels. Like, why is he has, like, just as many levels as Sonic, almost. It's kind of bizarre. But, the only one that really took me a real long time was that water one, and that took me probably like 30 minutes or something. So I don't know. I guess that's not the worst thing.
The thing about that water level is there's something in that level you got to go looking for that's kind of integral for later in the game. Because eventually, when you get to like Space Colony Arc, and you play as one character, and they leap off from one another to do their part of the mission. When you play as Knuckles, he has to go through like this Mission Impossible like laser fence thing underwater, but when he gets a bubble, he lightly sinks and drops. And there's this thing you got to get to the bottom of this, at the bottom of like this laser fence thing that's underwater, and then if you hit it, you hit acid, and then there's just too many fucking things to keep it track of. So it's almost you almost got to go back to that fucking aquatic mine level.
You got to get the rebreather.
The rebreather, so you don't have to worry about looking for bubbles or anything like that in that whole process.
Yeah, because that's the thing. Once you get that, then that's really not so shabby in that level and whatnot. But
because the thing is, you have the lasers everywhere, and then you have acid on the ground. And if he hits the fucking bubble, he lightly drops for a second. Then he hits the fucking acid. Then you lose your rings. You're running out of air. You try to grab the thing and then swim up, and then you fucking die.
Yeah.
So
it just gets like super chaotic and whatnot. But I'll say this at the end of the day: the Sonic levels on both Sonic Adventure 1 and 2. Those ones are pretty darn dialed in. I mean, there's little things that kind of happen there once in a while where Sonic will shoot off in the wrong direction or, maybe get caught up on something. But for the most part, those things are so much fun,
I think Sonic and Shadow control better in Sonic Adventure 2, but there's more of a sense of speed in Sonic Adventure 1, though.
Yeah, and there's oddly more levels in Sonic Adventure 1, too. I kind of forgot how many Sonic levels. There's like 10 levels just about, I think, for Sonic himself. Mm-hmm. Where I think in the other one there's like 6 or 7. I mean, granted, you got Shadow as well, too, But yeah, no, it's like one of those ones. Going back, I even went back with even weirder ones because they were on sale. So I picked up just to try it again. Sometimes I like to just kind of give the old like college try to games. It's not that you have to seriously play it, but like Sonic Unleashed, I was like, yeah, let me see. I haven't played this since Ryan got it in like 08 or 09 or whenever the hell that came out.
And rage quitted, yeah.
And I just remember being like, what the fuck? And then like it starts off great and so on, but oddly it actually didn't bother me as much now this time. I don't know. And it's so weird. This is the strangest part, though, I will say, is the reviews, like, on Xbox for, like, those Sonic games, like that, I guess, that, like, third generation of Sonic titles or whatever you want to kind of call them. Like, that game had, like, pure 5 out of 5. It was so fucking weird. Like, I don't think I saw any other game on Xbox One that had that many fucking good reviews.
Well, I guess to be fair, the one I had was the Wii version, and apparently that's the weakest... That's the worst version to have of that game, apparently. But at the exact same time, the thing about... I mean, I said it when I first played it, and I say it now. It's kind of like, it gives you everything you want in the Sonic game, and then everything you don't want. And that's the thing that makes me so angry about it. Because it's just like, you guys are smart enough to know to do this, but you're dumb enough to put in this shit. And it's like, I don't know, like the whole... like. The werehog thing and the button masher, the slow beat 'em up part, it doesn't feel like a fine, well-tuned brawler. It feels like, I'm not saying this to be a dick, it feels kind of like a movie for, like a DreamWorks movie just came out, and here is the tie-in video game.
It's the Shrek beat 'em up game.
This is the Shrek beat 'em up game, or the Kung Fu Panda beat 'em up game that they made like in like 5 months, and they just kind of like, well, we can't let them see the whole movie, so just give them parts of the script and some of the concept art. They'll let them work into it from there. I get that vibe whenever I play the fucking, like, werehog shit. So, so that game, it pushed things forward in some ways, but I just, Unleashed, it's just one of those, like, what the fuck's wrong with you people? It's kind of what I wanted to say.
And well, you know what I really think it is with those reviews? I'm really kind of guessing.
Not the fans, but the Sega. Sorry to cut you off.
No. I know what you mean, but like, what I think it is though is there's a lot of people that like, because you know when you're like about give or take 8 years old, whatever 5 games you have, for the most part, you probably think the world of those games. It's either that or there might be that game where you're like, God, it's the only game I had, and I had to play it, and it fucking sucked, but I kept playing it because it was one of the only games I had. That might be the other thing. But I think that's sort of why that game... There's that third generation of Sonic fans, which makes you sound fucking old, like, not like us good old first-timey generation fans, no, the third generation fans, and they came into that, and that was their Sonic. You know what I mean? Like, they went back and played Sonic the Hedgehog on Genesis, and they're like, what, no werehog?
Yeah. Yeah, well, I mean, to be fair, I guess...
No silver?
I guess it's also one of those things where that's true right there. Even though I liked Mario before Mario World is the game that made me into Mario. So whenever there was a game where you couldn't ride Yoshi, there was a period of like, well, this is cool, but why can't you ride Yoshi? But up at that point, like, well, dude, Yoshi was only in one game. That's like, you can't always hold it to that particular standard. So, and it wouldn't be until, Sunshine, till you really rode Yoshi again. So, yeah.
Yeah, it was a long time.
And he wouldn't even be green. You'd be like,
You'd always
like
get the off-brand Yoshis.
You were all the off-brand Yoshis. He turned green right before he died. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I guess in Mario RPG, you can ride Yoshi for that race against the douchebag guy. He was like, hey, man, what's up? Got my 90s sunglasses on. I own this town.
Yoshi?
And then, and then Mario shows up and he's just like, no, don't you fucking dare think you take this town over. Me and Yoshi here got this town. Don't you dare think you can take it over.
Yoshi just sent him a letter like, there's problems at the homeland. I need help. So this guy's coming in stealing cookies.
We got some people to rough up. Don't you start fucking crying on me. We're going. You're coming with me. You're gonna learn to be a man.
Don't you be stealing my cookies. That's fucking currency here.
Yeah, you gotta be careful with that.
It's like a Scorsese film, but
it really becomes like that. But yeah, I guess jumping into
Sonic.
Back to Sonic in the IDW.
Before you lean into the IDW, did you ever read a whole lot of the Archie ones?
I read like a bit of them throughout time. It's one of those ones that I couldn't say I read tons of them, but I would love to. That's one of those ones I wouldn't mind going back and like even if we cherry picked through some of them, I think that'd be just kind of fun to kind of go with because I remember them as a kid having like a couple of those miscellaneous single issues that you had in the shoebox. You know what I mean?
Well, it was also one of those things. It was it was before they had the graphic novels and all that. So I mean, graphic novels of Sonic stuff, and I don't even know if they have. I think for a minute they had the Archie graphic novels. I'm not sure how far along they got, but the Sonic brand, I mean. But I remember there's Sonic comics. Like, what? There's Sonic comics? And then anytime you went to the grocery store, you just went to the comic book rack to see if they were there, and maybe they'd be there, maybe they wouldn't. But I actually did kind of collect them pretty frequently because when I was a kid, after allowances, doing chores and all that, you'd save up and you go to like at Toys R Us in the video game section. They actually had like a 2-pack of comics. So it would usually be I'm getting some kind of like Star Wars thing, and then a 2-pack of like both sides. It'd be like, okay, here's one issue, here's another issue. Maybe they had nothing to do with one another, but I almost go off like, oh, this is the one that's kind of adapting Sonic and Knuckles. This is the one that's, or they're just going off of like a cool cover, and out of that you'd piece together like, oh, this takes place between here and there, and eventually, I just fell behind and stopped reading them. But then I'd look at it and like see how much further it came along. And apparently, right when Archie was losing the rights to Sonic and all that, and going over to IDW, they took a lot of the current writers and artists from then and brought them over onto this book.
Yeah, exactly. And sometimes I think every once in a while, not saying that the Archie run, they did all kinds of stuff in there and so on, but sometimes there gets to a point in comic books where you just kind of need sort of a fresh start. And even though this still takes place sort of like later on and whatnot, because what were you saying? Like, it took place after Sonic Heroes?
This takes place after Sonic Forces, but they bring in things from...
Sonic Forces, that's right.
Yeah, and apparently I guess there is a Sega mandate/update thing, which is they're trying to create more of a concrete universe, and apparently classic Sonic and Sonic Adventure Sonic are not even part of the same universe anymore. It's like, this is Classic universe, this is modern universe. Classic universe, he doesn't talk, this and that. And apparently, not even like Fang or Mighty or Ray or even in the 3D universe. Now, I think they're just almost making it more complicated, really, when they do this type of shit.
I always think that's kind of weird when they kind of throw that thing out. Like, well, Sonic doesn't talk. I'm like, well, yeah, it was a Sega Genesis game. Like, I assumed he talked. I didn't think I was going to hear it in Sega Genesis. You know what I mean? It ain't fucking like when you start up Super Metroid and the game starts talking to you right off the bat. It throws you fucking for a curve.
Basically, you could tell from, if you know your games, with the first page, you know, okay, so at least this goes as far back as Adventure. So even though there's history there, Sonic Adventure is, I guess, technically, it's the starting point for this new universe, even though there is history they had previously, because you see a bunch of final bosses from previous Sonic games. It's kind of just giving the quick rundown of, like, who Sonic is, what he does, he fights Robotnik.
Yeah, exactly. And then there was this big war, pretty much, and, like, they took care of fucking Robotnik, and they think he's almost kind of gone for the moment and whatnot. Now they're just cleaning up. There's, like, in a sense, like, roguelike badniks out there that are just causing havoc. You know what
Did you ever play Sonic Forces?
I did. I have that one.
Okay. So, yeah, I mean, I think that's, again, I don't want this whole thing to be kind of like me just complaining about shit that happens other Sonic things. But Forces, I feel like that this writer, and I'm not going to totally blame all the programmers on Sonic Forces. I think it's more Sega suits coming in the way, because apparently they have a thing of where they have a bigger, grander plan, but then Sega does something to step in, it cuts their budget, or does something which makes it more difficult to do what they wanted to do originally, so now they have to scrap a lot of the ideas they have, and now instead of making a big game, they have a game that comes out for $40 on launch day, or $30, whatever it was. And I think they didn't really utilize the things they could have done with Sonic being a POW. I mean, I'm not expected to be like Guantanamo Bay or anything, like pulling out his fingernails or anything like that, but at the same time, I was expecting, like, oh my god, there was a war, and they lost, and, like, nothing really changed in the game. But in this, though, it's like, oh no, we are dealing with it. And I feel like this comic is good at taking some of the things and retroactively expanding on it or making more sense out of it.
Yeah, exactly. Well, it's like, I even think, like, in Sonic Adventure 2, there's that part where Sonic's in jail or whatnot, and Amy comes by and she's like, well, Sonic, I'll free you if you marry me. He's like, yeah, right, I'll stay in jail if that's the case. And then she's like,
I thought I had you this time.
Yeah, he's like, yeah, you thought, but you didn't.
Because you don't fucking think.
Yeah. Come on, let's get out of here, you know what I mean? And I even
you can blow me on the way there, yeah.
I love how even in this one, too, like, because, like, Amy's, like, in charge of the Resistance, and it almost has, like, that feeling that, like, Sonic and Knuckles and Tails and everything's like, God, you remember when, like, we just used to kick ass, and, you know, there was, you know, we beat Robotnik, and there wasn't anything tying us down, and we didn't have to clock in exactly at 8 o'clock every morning, and so on like that. Shit, Amy's fucking ruined it for us. I gotta go off and do my own thing now.
Remember when we used to have, like, we could have, like, beers at lunch break? Remember that?
Yeah, that's totally what it feels like. It feels like Amy kind of moved in, and she's like, okay, I'm going to organize everything for you guys now. And it's just like, well, no, it's, I mean, like, yeah, I guess we're, like, you know, a team that fights stuff. We just show up at the clubhouse, you know what I mean? They shoot some guns. And
where's my shit? Where's my shit? It's alphabetized now. Ah!
I had a way that I knew where everything was. It just looked like a hurricane came in here. That's my style. Don't you get it, Amy? And then I just love how it's like, they just decide, like, everybody's just like, fuck it, let's just get out of here. Like, you know, I mean, it's shit. I'm sick and tired of her complaining that, like, oh, we happen to be late, or, oh, we didn't get the paperwork done in time, or, oh, no, more problems like that.
Well, before we go too far into this, I'll say this book is more of a, like, gently easing you into it. And essentially, there isn't, like, a heavy through line throughout the first graphic novel. It's literally Sonic going, like, okay, Sonic and Robotnik have been fighting for a while. A war just happened. Robotnik lost. They don't know where he's at. But his robots are just kind of running amok, kind of aimlessly, just wandering around the countryside. So they're trying to just tackle him. In each issue, he's dealing with a different member of his crew, and then getting a little bit of exposition, and then we're on to the next one. This is more of like a soft setup, and so I think that, you don't really have to go on. We don't have to go so much on like, okay, and then the next page this happens. It's more of just like free flow. Like Sonic meets Tails, helps him out. Sonic meets Knuckles, helps him out. Meets Amy, helps her out. Meets Blaze, and then a new character, Tangle, helps them out. And then we get a little bit of a reveal at the end.
Yeah, exactly. I'm glad that Blaze is in it too, because I always feel that's a character that I feel they should use Blaze more often. Like, cause she appeared in the Game Boy Advance Sonic Advance game, and then like, was it the Game Boy Advance one, or was it the DS one that she appeared in?
She appeared in the DS game.
Okay, so yeah,
Sonic Rush.
Yeah, that was a fantastic. I feel those handheld ones are like the very like forgotten and underrated Sonic games, because those ones are pretty darn good, but nobody ever brings them up too often.
Well, she also plays different from Sonic, but she's still a speed character, and I think like, as far as now, she's not that new. She's like 10 years old by now. But I mean, in the grand scheme of newish characters, I think she's one of the better characters. Not just because, I mean, her design is cool and everything, but the thing is, she's more of like, she's a girl character, but she's not too like, oh, I'm so girly and so fumbly. And at the same time, she's also stern and serious, but she's not so bleak and somber like Shadow. I think that she's a good balance of like Sonic and Shadow. You know what I mean?
Yeah, exactly. Well, Shadow is definitely a character of a generation. You know what I mean?
He's definitely a product. Well, I think he's even a little before. I mean,
he's almost like proto, because he ushers in the 2000s. Emo. Yeah,
he's kind of like I guess he's leading into it. He's kind of like if he sounds like if there was a kid like, man, I wish Papa Roach was in a Sonic game. Like, well, we got a character for that kid.
Yeah, exactly. It's that kid who's like, he might be leaning like a little bit. He could be like teeter-tottering between being like the Marilyn Manson fan, the Papa Roach fan, and going into the My Chemical Romance fan even.
This is gonna seem a little like off course for just a moment, but I gotta share this. And it's gonna make me out to be the asshole, but still, regardless, I just gotta share this. The other day at work, this two girls, probably like early 20s or so. One of them was playing like some Breaking Benjamin or whatever, and I'm just walking by. I'm like, oh my god, you listen to Breaking Benjamin? Oh yeah, I'm a hardcore rocker. I grew up on like Papa Roach and like Skillet and like just these like very fucking like this is gonna be a very local reference, 96.7 type bands, Yeah,
and that rock station that probably everybody sort of has in their town.
Yeah, and then I'm just like, fuck. I'm just like, bite your tongue, leave. I had to leave the room. I'm not one of those people who wants to shit on other people's parades. But right there, I'm like, I'm by no means like a hardcore rocker. I'm not like a guy to mosh pit or anything like that. But at the same time, I was just like, fuck, don't make Iggy Pop comparisons. Don't fucking talk about, fucking Guns N' Roses or something. Just fucking leave.
Well, at least you didn't do the thing. He's like, man, I'm really into that classic rock.
Yeah, like, well, I guess for them, like, I don't know. I was just one of those
like,
things.
That's old people music.
Well, I thought by then that would be old people music. But I guess maybe they were like in, like just getting out of high school or starting high school right when that shit was coming out. So I was just like, fuck. I was just like, I feel old, and I feel like, oh yeah, I'm such a hardcore rocker, and they're both nice, but I was just like, fuck, I gotta leave. I can't get round into this conversation. I'm gonna be an asshole if I do. So anyway, I feel like Shadow was kind of someone made for someone who liked a lot of those bands for a minute,
Well, that was made for that. That's just like the 2000s in general, because like I feel like Shadow fits in with, it's the post-Matrix era. Oddly, Matrix created all these kind of things like that, but it kind of fits into like things like The One with Jet Li and like Let the Bodies Hit the Floor. Like that's what Shadow's aiming at.
Drowning Pool. That's the big one they're talking about. Drowning Pool. Let the Bodies Hit the. That's what they were. That was the big one.
That's like with the song. It like appears in about like 3, if not more, movies for like some real pivotal scenes in those like action movies of like the early 2000s, and it always puts a smile on my face. I don't know why. It's like The One, that last battle scene there. You're like, oh, dude, it's like you know where you are.
In 2 pieces. Well, the best part about that is like when the lightning bolt hits the camera.
Oh, such good times. But yeah, that does lead. That's like the Shadow the Hedgehog. It's really like that's why I think what makes him kind of interesting. It's that one that like you see Shadow and you could it takes you back. It's almost like he's now like this historical figure of like a time that like he like can almost define it. Like if somebody need to know like what was the 2000s like, you just go, oh, just read Shadow's autobiography.
I feel like that, and that because at the time everybody was like, "Oh, he's so cool." Now it's like, he's kind of a joke character, but I think they're still trying to do things with him. And I'm not gonna lie, the further this comic goes, he's not in this volume, but the further it goes, I guess some people had problems with him, but I think they found that good balance between he's basically by this point more of like the Vegeta, but not as like cocky all the time, more or less. And he doesn't even really want anything to do with Sonic. He's more of just like, it's not all about this rivalry for him. He just wants to do what he does, and Sonic has an opposing stance on it.
Yeah, well, I think that's the route to go perfect with him, is make him the Vegeta-like character. That sounds like a perfect place to make Shadow. Standing around, arms crossed, doesn't really like what everybody else has to do, but still follows along anyways because he doesn't want to be left behind. Yeah.
There's maybe one or two people in the group that he kind of likes. Everyone else is like, fuck, you're talking again.
That's what I kind of like about Vegeta. Vegeta's that kind of guy that, like, he really doesn't like being around everybody, but at the same time, he always wants to be included somehow, some way. Like, he's going to, like, poo-poo every idea, but then he's like, oh, well, I guess I'll have to go then. I mean, I don't want to go because, you telling me to go. It's just, I don't want to be left behind either.
I want to get a rice bowl. What?
I don't like being alone. So I can't admit it.
No, it's just the whole thing.
I like the company of others, even though I'm the asshole.
I like to be a part of the company, but not really contribute. You know what I mean?
Yeah, exactly. I like to go to a potluck, but I don't like to cook or bring anything.
I brought the paper plates. We're good. No, but the book. I think what they do with each different personality of the character, I think they really understand. Like, let's not bullshit. At the end of the day, Sonic the Hedgehog. If you're looking at it in I think game wise, they're still trying to capture everybody from who originally played it to like kids today. But then if you look at the comic, let's not bullshit. At the end of the day, they are trying to make something for something a kid could read. And I feel like ultimately, yeah, there are some very kiddish moments in this for obvious reasons, the Sonic book. But at the same time, I think there is like a sense of the people writing this, they really know the characters, they know what to lean into, they know what to pull back on. And I don't think it's all super Saturday morning. They actually have like some small nuances to the characters that they get across very well.
No, yeah, I think it's super dialed in. It's just where it's like, it almost kind of has that feeling of almost kind of like the Pokemon Adventures books, where like, you're almost getting like one of the best versions you can kind of have of, the stories you kind of like. And it's just fun small stuff in here. I love that part where like, I think it's the Knuckles one, where Knuckles is just outside like beating up these like robots outside this like walled off like fortress thing and whatnot. And then he's like, him and Sonic show up and they're like, yo, let us in. They're like, oh, I don't know if we're going to let you in. And then they just fucking climb up the wall and Sonic runs up. I'm like, oh shit, they got in already. Like, yeah, we're fucking good guys. Get over here and start slapping that kid around. Be like, don't you fucking, when I say open the fucking door, you open the fucking door. Who do you think saved Mobius?
Where's your fridge? Like Sonic just like, he's almost more like a bully. Like he saves the day, but he's gonna like rob them all their food in the process. And like, hey, is that your daughter? Like, fuck, just get her behind the wall.
God, I don't know, just bringing up the fridge, and this brings up kind of like these things that like you don't think about at the time, but now I think about them. I remember being like in high school, and you would show up to people's houses, especially people's houses that you've never been over to first, but if you had like a gang of fellas coming on over, you would be like, hey, where's your fridge at? We're doing a fridge raid! And just start like eating out of someone's fridge like a maniac, just like the thing that like somebody's parents would hate more than anything else is about 4 teenagers coming in like, what do you got to eat?
A birthday cake? No, that's my dad for tonight. He's not home yet.
You're putting it in the microwave. Why are you putting that cake in the microwave? I don't know.
I'm 14. I don't got good judgment, but that's okay. I'm figuring shit out as I go along.
For 10 minutes until it blows up. Your cake blew up. I ain't cleaning that up.
Yeah. No, but the whole thing, that's I could totally see Sonic doing that. But I think they have a good balance of him being witty and him being a smart ass, but at the same time not leaning in too much of that 90s thing, or even the thing that kind of pops in the games, where I think sometimes he's not, I mean, I don't think you ever really look at Sonic for like a great story. I think there's potential for a great story there, and I think this comic does a good job with it. On top of it, though, I feel at times they really don't know what to do with it story-wise or character-wise in the games, and I feel like Ian Flynn has a pretty good idea what to do, along with all these different artists they have in this book that really understand the aesthetic of the world and the characters. And even though all the issues, I want to say, have a different artist, they're all fitting. They're all fitting of this. It doesn't feel like anything too drastic from one another. And the first one, where it's Sonic and Tails, I kind of like how, even though you see Sonic's the one doing all the work, you see why Tails is important. Because the last game he was in Forces, he was just a coward, And a lot of times they don't know what to do with Tails. He's just like, oh, I'm scared. Like, well, in classic games, or even Adventure 1, Adventure 2, he was out there doing shit. Even in Heroes. Yeah. And now, for some reason, a couple robots come wandering in, he cowers and has to wait for someone to help him all the time. And that's in newer games. And this one, I like how they kind of come around and be like, yeah, well, when I thought you were dead, I just kind of lost it for a minute. So I'll be better about that in the future,
Yeah, well, and the way I always look at Tails, he's the Donatello of the group, you know what I mean? He's the smart guy, he's got the gadgets, he's got the gears, you know what I mean? It's like, I feel like Sonic calls upon Tails when he needs to solve something that's, involves too much thinking.
But at the same time, though, he is capable of, maybe he's not the one to be the first one to be charging in there, but at the same time, he's not a coward, and he's also he's not hapless. He can still get things done. And I feel like this book kind of illustrates that. I feel like in this book, he's also willing to talk shit on Sonic in some points and call him on his bullshit, So
yeah. They don't just make him the stupid I think some people just seem like, oh, he's just a tag-along character. It's like a little kid following around, his big brother.
Yeah, and because Tails says, for a while the robots have just been kind of wandering, but lately, the last couple, they've seemed a little bit more coordinated and whatnot. And Sonic's just picking his teeth, I haven't really noticed. And you see this shot of Tails just giving this, really, dude, fucking really, and another shot of just silence. Okay, maybe I have, and not saying that's not that's Tarantino dialogue or anything, but I feel like that's more than the more the games have given him, more personality. He's actually willing to he's willing to call people on their bullshit on some things, or before be okay, I guess so, or how'd you know it wasn't the real one? Because you just fucking told me.
Yeah, no. I like how Tails is a little bit sassy in this one, and he's got, a little bit more attitude, which what he needs. Because, that's how I feel about Tails. It's Tails can kick ass, just like Donatello. He can kick just as much ass as anybody else, but, his main skill, I always think, is that he's the technology guy. He's, almost the intelligence guy, and so on. And just even, I think when, Sonic's yo, Tails, you gonna join me? We're gonna go, to wherever we're gonna go in the next issue. And Tails is you know what, Sonic? You're faster than me. I'm going to take care of this, town here, because obviously they can't take care of themselves.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I think that's good that he's at that point where he doesn't need Sonic there to do everything. Because for a while, it was kind of and don't get me wrong, I know that they didn't probably think Sonic would even last this long as a franchise or character, but I guess
he'd go the way of Bubsy.
Well, I guess because everything but I guess everything for a long time kind of revolves around Sonic. What's Amy? So the girl that she defines herself by, her obsession with Sonic. Who's Tails? He's Sonic's best friend who tags along, who always dies but keeps coming back. Mm-hmm. Who's Knuckles? Oh, that's his rival. Who's Eggman? His arch enemy. So everything. Now, I feel like this comic, even though Sonic's still the main character, you could see these characters kind of standing on their own, not needing Sonic to be there on every page. If they had a Tails miniseries, I think he could stand on his own right there.
Exactly, and same with even Amy and everybody else too. I mean, even Amy's kicking ass and whatnot. I just love. Still my favorite part. So I just love how Amy just it's she's taking over the business, and everybody's just oh god, she seemed so nice until she got promoted up there, until we made her manager, and now she's fucking... Because it reminds me of that sort of thing. you ever been to one of those jobs before where like one guy finally gets promoted upwards, and he was the greatest guy ever when like you were just kind of like in the same level as him, and then once the second he got like some little bit of power and whatnot, he just became like a total ass.
Well, I don't think Amy's an ass.
No,
you can see she's trying to run a more coordinated.
Like, I just think that like she took what was. It's almost like she took the fun out of being like the guys who just kick Robotnik's ass.
Man, she took all the fun out of being in an army.
Yeah, like, she started putting rules and regulations and codes and whatnot. I mean, Knuckles is like, he's like, the main guy, and he's like the general of the army and whatnot. And even the issue where he goes to find Knuckles is like, yeah, I had to get fucking out of there. You know what I mean? Like,
the skirt walked in, and nothing went the same ever since.
She wanted me to wear pants around the office place. We never wore pants.
I'll say the whole thing with, well, first off, yeah, I totally know what you mean. There's that guy you work with, he's hella cool, and then suddenly a little bit of power, like, whoa, what the fuck happened,
Yeah.
But then, but I'll say the whole thing with Amy, what they do with her is, apparently they think that they're using her to kind of replace Sally in Sonic, because there's a period where, yeah, Sonic and Sally were dating and this and that, but then Sega kind of had their back turned on the Archie books for a long time, and they looked like, wait, what's he doing? He's in a relationship? He's actually having character development? What the fuck? So there's all these things that they couldn't do suddenly. So, yeah. So because of that, like, they just said, like, all right, well, first off, due to copyright issues and all that, Sally can't be in it. So they're taking more of the commander and army leader roles and putting that more into Amy. And I'm not gonna lie, Amy was never a favorite character of mine. She always just kind of annoyed me, because that's all she ever was. She was just where's Sonic? I just want to be with Sonic, But now it's like they're actually giving her something to do. And even though you could still see she likes Sonic, she still wants to be with Sonic, and he's not giving her the time of day, you could still see they're good enough friends to bullshit. And she's also, like, still kind of like, all right, yeah, I like Sonic, but my priority right now is running a military. I'm 12.
Yeah. No, I kid you not.
Maybe now she's, like, 16 or something. I don't know, but...
Well, in animal years, that's pretty fucking old. Think about, like, dog years, in a sense. I guess that's the same for, like, Hedgehog and so on. But no, actually, I like Amy a lot in this one. I think by giving her kind of more of that, like, oh, she's the commander and so on, like, it's just funny, I think, when the other people are like, oh, the rules, the regulations, and all that stuff, being like, taking over our clubhouse. Like, I just think of, like, that Simpsons episode where, like, Milhouse gets a girlfriend and Bart's up there. He's like, you can't have a girlfriend. What if I want to strut around nude?
A little bit of that, yeah. And then, Sonic gets there and saves the day, and they're all happy to see Sonic. But then Amy comes in. They're for a minute. I think they're more happy to see. Oh, it's Amy! Like, oh yeah, she's doing shit too. Cool,
Yeah, exactly. And then it's like Sonic's like, I think the thing about Sonic's like, it's good that I'm always faster than her. So, Amy, see you later.
You got this, right? Later, boom. Yeah. And I kind of like how even right here, he's still trying to, like, just dismiss the robot attacks. It's just like, like, all right, look, I'm going to just go village to village, see what's going on, make sure everything's running smoothly. But, she's saying, like, hey, I need you to be here to help me. He's like, no, I got to go live my life. There's even a part where they still kind of get across that she likes him in that way. But they even make a reference to the song, because he, like, what's that? The song, It Doesn't Matter, which sounds like it could be an emo song, but context,
Yeah.
Where he, like, the sun is shining. It's almost comical, the way how the sun's shining, he's looking all badass, he's doing, like, the Bruce Lee nose flick thing. He says, living by my way, my own way, which is a reference to that song from Sonic, two versions of it, Sonic Adventure 1 and 2. And then she just gets smitten right there, like, oh yeah, I gotta stay here, I gotta do my job.
Yeah, exactly. Well, it's even like, isn't that the one where, like, he's almost, like, highly rendered, too?
Yeah, like, extra detailed. Like, I think what they do with, because I want to say this first volume, every issue is a different artist, and I think it's kind of like a preview for, like, here's different artists to come in this series,
Mm-hmm.
Well, first off, I think they're fighting, like, something from Sonic Heroes. I think that's where that ship is from, with all those different goofy-ass little robot things. And, I think, like, there's an example I was going to make. I think they do a good job with a lot of, like, the more visual cues with the characters. Like, maybe not this is the one I'm thinking of, but I think that this does utilize things like more comical drawings in certain ways, Like, not typically that anime-ish, maybe probably stems from anime to some extent. Not that over anime like expression, but more of like I can't really think of a way to explain it. I'm jumping ahead here. This isn't on this page, but we'll get to it later though when I come across one.
Well, because it has that sort of mixed match between like American cartoon and anime style.
Like, it does this thing where, I mean, it's kind of hard to explain. Like, when a character fucks up or something, and then they have more of, like, I guess you'd almost see it more like in a webcomic. Like, their eyes are really circular, and do that thing where they're kind of holding their breath, like, and someone just looks really derpy, like, oops, I just totally fucked up. You know what I mean? Kind of like that.
Yeah, I always call that, like, it's like a Newgrounds look.
Yeah, which makes sense, because I think a lot of these people are from... I don't know about these people. I can't say for these people for certain, but... I know that Tyson Hess was definitely part of like online Sonic community stuff. Now he's redesigning Sonic in the movie, you know. So
yeah, so you know that kind of can come from there and everything like that. But no, the art, it's one of those ones too. Like almost at first glance, you probably wouldn't even notice that each issue is kind of a different person because, I guess because it's like Sonic. Like what? You don't know how to draw Sonic? Like come on, like we all know what he looks like. And so it all kind of mixes together the whole way through, and even though there's a little bit difference in each one, but it still has that same like classic Sonic look. The art style in it's fantastic the whole way through.
Yeah, well, I think each one is almost kind of meant to first each art style. I'm not looking too deep into this. Is meant to highlight the kind of tone and theme of like, okay, I can kind of see this art style fitting more of like Sonic and Tails. In the second issue, it's a little bit more detailed, a little bit more rendered, but at the same time it's with Amy and it's at like sunrise or sunset or something. So
and
I feel like
slightly darker tones
and a lot more broader colors. And then the last one, it's a little bit more of like the last one. There's more detail, but at the same time it looks just, I don't want to say scratchy because it's very clear and it looks really good, but it looks kind of like a cross between the styles of the first issue and the second issue.
Yeah, I know what you totally mean there. And then I also like how it's even got, like, at the end of each issue, you kind of get, like, that old school Robotnik. Also reminds me of, like, Inspector Gadget as well, too, where, like...
Dr. Claw.
Yeah, Dr. Claw sitting there in his chair, and you don't see him. You just see the chair, and you see he's watching the screens and going, like, excellent, Sonic's falling into my plan.
Which, that's the thing, which is like, oh, yeah, it is kind of a kid's book with that. But then, it all leads to something else, though.
Even though that doesn't bother me. That, to me, takes me back to, like... old school, watching like the '93 show or watching, as I said, Inspector Gadget and things like that. To that kind of style. Like I don't think that's a bad one because I feel that's Robotnik. Let's be honest, Robotnik at the end of the day is just the guy who he knows he's a villain and he's not one of those stupid like film school things where it's like, oh, the villain doesn't believe he's actually the villain, which is I think some people do. Like, oh no, they like doing dastardly shit.
Yeah, some people are like Joker and like Heath Ledger Joker, more or less.
Yeah, they know they're the villain and they love that part of it. And I feel Robotnik's kind of like that too. I mean, he likes to make money too, and take over lands and drill for oil and do all his capitalist, Captain Republican.
Loves the free market. Yeah,
you know what I mean. But in Sonic's all day, like, no way, man. Like it's all about like hanging out and living for freedom and sleeping on the sand and not paying taxes.
Well, how do you think I always usually hang out in the warmer areas where I don't have to worry about fucking housing? Oh, it's always like 80 degrees in Green Hill, so shit. Yeah, just lounge under a tree for the night. You're good.
Yeah, I mean, somebody else is always going to provide for me. All I gotta do is save the day every once in a while. And if someone kind of starts to give me fucking lip, I'd be like, "Yo, you like it here on Mobius? You want to be enslaved by Dr. Robotnik? Yeah, that's what I fucking thought. Give me that fucking free soda. Give me that chili dog. Don't you dare tell me you don't know how to make a chili dog."
Need be, he could just like... And plus, if they don't give it to me, I just take it. It's just what I do.
Yeah.
What are they going to do, fucking catch me?
Yeah. I'm the fastest dude on this earth. You know what I mean?
The Knuckles issue I thought was good just because I think it illustrates their friendship, but at the same time, I feel it illustrates like the big difference between them. Like they bring in two new characters, Rough and Tumble, which is like these two skunks, and they look like they could be part of Sonic's world. They look like that kind of design, like you'd see these guys and like in like hero style game
or something. Even
yeah, like but I thought it was funny. They do this whole like Ginyu Force like coordinated dance kind of thing. And Sonic's trying not to laugh because he finds it so fucking stupid. But Knuckles is like, careful, they're highly coordinated.
Yeah, where like Knuckles is almost like thinking it out, like everything's so serious.
Like he's a character without like much of a sense of humor. Like he wants to do the right thing, but it's like nothing can be taken as a joke though.
No, life is serious and so on and whatnot. It's like, you know what I mean? And Sonic's just like, dude, look at these fucking lamos.
It's like, all right, okay, whatever. And then you find out that like these guys, they helped defend this village during like Robotnik's siege, but then after that they didn't leave, and now they're basically running this whole village however they want to do it. And then they're collecting Wisp because like from Sonic Colors, because they were using those things as weapons in Sonic Forces, and now they basically free all those things to like help fight against these two thugs. And these thugs will be back in later issues, but this is kind of like just a soft reopening and re-entering for everything. This is almost kind of like second minute, like this is why we need our guns.
Yeah, it kind of has, well, because it has that feeling that, like, you know, like when an empire sort of breaks up, and then some people don't get like the notion. Like they said that like when after World War II, like there was guys that they found like 25 years later on some of those random ass islands that were still defending them, like out from the jungle. Like they didn't know the war was over yet.
Shit.
Nobody sent them the fucking message, so they're just literally living out there like Robinson Crusoe, fucking waiting for like the Americans to invade their tiny island that they've been dropped off on.
So you mean
what do you think that was
years...
like, though? What do you think that was like when someone's like, "Oh, jeez, you didn't? Oh God, you didn't get the message? Like that war ended like 25 years ago. They dropped an atom bomb. You know what I mean? Like, oh, what?" Just out there like in rags, you know what I mean? Looking like fucking Tarzan and just being like, no. Japanese army would, no. What happened to my wife and kids? Oh, well, they passed away due to old age. You've been out here for too long.
Hey, you look like you need something to drink.
Yeah, I'm like...
Want to get on the boat?
No, I guess there's nothing left for me now. I'll just go back into the jungle.
So, yeah. Well, because they're basically these guys...
It's like, what was it there? What am I going to go back to? I can't operate a computer.
You're probably right. All right, later, boom.
Just slowly walks back to the jungle, like the leaves and stuff start closing in on him.
Off he goes by Pearl Jam plays.
Yeah, exactly. But that's almost like what some of these characters are, because it's like they're like, oh shit, well, Robotnik's not in charge of us. Well, we're not letting go of our little empires. We're not letting go of our Soviet-controlled like nations.
It's like an Iron Curtain thing they got going here, because they do have like this. It's kind of like maybe it is a metaphor for the Berlin Wall, because they are like in this walled-off city here.
Yeah, exactly. But and then I guess we go last into like the one with like Blaze, and then what was that new chick's name again? Who's like the squirrel or whatever?
Tangle. She's like a lemur.
Yeah, Tangle the lemur.
Yeah.
You know, and of course like Sonic and Blaze are just like, yeah, we're fucking awesome. You know, here's this Tangle chick too. Yeah, she can help out. Cool. We can always use a new recruit.
Which, yeah, she I thought she's an interesting... I think she's a character that could, like, work on the games and all that. I think what's smart about this is they look at it like, all right, well, what's a character... I mean, I guess anything that you don't see in the games, you see in a book, comes across as like, okay, that's someone's OC or whatever. But at the same time, I feel like looking at that character, that seems like an ability you could use in the game in some way, you know?
Mm-hmm. No. I think that character fits real well in here. I think she could totally be used... like in the games and whatnot, and I think sometimes even in these comics too, this is where like you can kind of get to. Sometimes when you get like a brand new character in Sonic, you're like, who's this fucking guy? But like if you already have it like explained in the comic and you kind of get to like him here, you know you mean, because I mean that was like the whole thing that happened with, like Silver just kind of came off on the wrong foot like in 06.
Well, the thing about Silver is it was a couple things with Silver. Let me say, I'm not sure if I said this in the show or not, but Silver was a character I always hated just because. First off, he played super slow. He's like, why am I playing this like remember that there was that psychic game,
Psychonauts?
around, not Psychonauts, but there was like some kind of psychic game where it's just like, oh, you get to control shit with your mind. But it's in like, well, I don't remember what it was called. I want to say it was for like PlayStation 2 or it was PlayStation 3 at the time. But anyway, it like Silver seemed like a cheaper, slower version of that. Mm-hmm. And then on top of that, he was so easy. I mean, I guess there's something about Sonic, like rival characters, they're always super easy to manipulate and to trick. But he was like, there's a guy, like the devil, literally looks like the devil, talks like the devil, and pops in, like, is like an eviler version of Shadow. It's just like, you must do what I say. Okay, I'll help out however I can. You know, and he just, like, fucks things up more. So for a while, I was like, fuck this guy. He just ruins everything. But I'm going to say, that's all I ever saw him in, was 06, really. And then he'd pop in other games for a minute or whatever. Mm-hmm. But then in this series, though, he's not in this volume. He's actually a well-written character as it goes on. Like, they find that good balance with him. And I'm like, okay, you kind of turned me on this character. If he's written well, like anything, he could probably survive. You know, not survive, but like last longer, I guess, you know?
Yeah, exactly. And I think that's sort of it, is that he just needed to be he just needed a redo in a sense, and then he'd come back around. And
yeah, so he's not in this, but I could definitely see, you know, he had the plus one of the Rotten Lucks being introduced in like one of the worst Sonic games. So, you know.
Yeah, exactly, like one of those ones. But yeah, no. So far, this book series, like, because this is the only volume I've read, is the first one. Super dialed in. I think all the characters are fun. I mean, it's all the Sonic characters you know and love. You know, written real well. The story's cool. I like the build up it's kind of getting to. We're going to see what Robotnik's up to in a sense. Nice thing too is like, Robotnik's technically, other than like just in the very end of each issue, he's not in it, which is always kind of nice. It's that sort of, sometimes some of those characters, like when they have kind of like that one ultra major villain, and then like they always kind of seem to be like, oh, it's always Robotnik, it's always, you know, the Joker, or it's always like, the one I was thinking of is like Ninja Turtles with Shredder. It's like sometimes it's kind of nice when like, okay, let's see some other characters for once. We'll get to them in a moment, but like let's see some other people. See what they're doing.
Well, I thought Blaze was a good addition, because I think she's a character that has been underutilized in the Sonic games, and she's always a good character. So right here, it was just like, okay, so this one we're going to introduce you to a new character, but then bring Blaze into it, which is I'm not going to say a super deep cut character, but like not one of the first characters that comes to mind.
Yeah, I feel like, because I mean, like, how many games can you really play as Blaze in? Like the DS one.
She's in 06.
That's right, she's in 06, because I think that was the same time as they both probably came out about 06, and then
she's in 06, and she's like in every single like any kind of spin-off or party type game she's in.
Yeah, and then she's in like the RPG one, the Dark Brotherhood.
She's in all the Rush games, because that's kind of like almost her franchise with Sonic Rush, Sonic Rush 2, and Sonic Rush Adventure.
Mm-hmm. So yeah, but like, I mean, for the most part, though, like, it seems like, yeah, you don't see her like as often. And I do think that character actually is one of the coolest newer Sonic characters out there.
No, yeah, I definitely agree with that. I think that they could use her more. And I've read basically, I've got a lot further in this series since I'm up to volume, I think, 7 by this point. So, yeah, this series goes in some pretty good places, and I look forward to doing more of them on this podcast. But there's just one little thing we should point out, and at the end of all the issues, we see someone in a chair. We don't see who the chair is, who's behind the chair. And then, at the very end of this volume, you see in some village, there's a little kid who's like, oh, my wagon's broken. You see Robotnik watching like a creeper. He says, don't worry, I'll fix everything. But keep in mind, that's not in the chair. That's not the control room.
Oh, yeah, I didn't really even think about that, but that is kind of true. When you see it like that, he's just like looking out for this kid. He's like, I'm going to turn them all into robots.
Yeah, so just keep that in mind. I'm going to say, if there is kind of like a slow point of the series, and not that it's a slow point, it's slow. It's like easing people in. The first volume, I was like, okay, that's good, but I want more. Let's cut more to it. And I'm going to say volume 2, and as they go on, get really good.
Well, yeah, I think it'd be fun to go through at least a few more of these books too. I mean, I don't see why not. I'm having a good time in that Sonic mood still. So yeah, it'd be fun to continue on with this. But yeah, beyond all that good stuff, I guess go to oldmanorange.com for more podcasts, comic books like Pizza Boys, and animations, and so on. Until then, I'm Spencer Scott Holmes.
And I'm Ryan Dunnigan.
And we'll see you some other time.
Later, folks.